In older editions of Dungeons & Dragons, gold was the focus of the game. We know this because that's how players leveled up. But as D&D modernized to focus on combat or storytelling, gold became a vestigial structure. In 5e D&D, gold can't buy the things that players want. There are no prices set for how to buy things, and tracking gold is boring. And so gold has very little value to you and to your game. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to make gold shine by increasing its purchasing power and making it easier to track at the table. Hi, I'm Pat. This is my cat, and I make TTRPG advice videos to help simplify your game and gamify the simple. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you never miss the hot, fresh content that I make every Thursday. The first problem that's plaguing the gold economy in your game is that there's nothing to spend it on. 5e rulebooks advise DMs not to let their players buy magic items. And players accumulate gold way faster than they can spend it, so they're hardly ever wanting it. So let's look at that basic economic principle of supply and demand. They have a lot of demand for goods, so we need to increase the supply for them. Let's give your players some things to spend their money on that matters to them. How about a home to manage, like in Oblivion or Skyrim games? Charge money for travel, horses, passage across the sea, carts, caravans, things like that. Allow them to hire people, maybe to do missions that they can't take on themselves because they're too busy. Allow them to influence and bribe people. Pay the king to let them do some things that they otherwise wouldn't be allowed to do. Allow them to bribe a guard to get access to some places in the castle that they otherwise wouldn't be allowed to go. Instead of influencing people, maybe they can influence gods by donating to their temple. Or allow them to make things themselves, like temples to their gods or new spells that they can cast in the game. This one's kind of a wild one, but maybe make like an in-game trading card game for your players that they can spend their money on to acquire better cards and battle opponents across the realm. I wouldn't actually make a rule set for this, maybe just reduce it down to a kind of a skill check with a bonus or something like that. But it could be a fun way for players to learn about the world and to spend some of their money throughout the game. Another reason your players may not be spending their gold is because nobody at the table knows how. Maybe you as the DM or them as the players do not know how to assign gold values to goods and services. Beyond prices for weapons, armor, and basic adventuring supplies, the game doesn't tell us how to assign prices to anything. And honestly, why should it? We as DMs can make rules about anything, and we can set prices for goods. Here's how I do it. 1 copper equals $1, 1 silver equals $10, and 1 gold equals $100. If a player wants to buy a beer, I think about how much that beer would cost in the real world. Then I charge them that amount in fantasy coins. You can take this a step further, even using the economy to help you world build. Think about how high quality the beer is, what kind of establishment they're drinking in, and whether or not they're drinking in a high-priced city or somewhere way out in the boonies in the wilderness. This system of real-world analogs will give you the ability to set prices in your game so that you can give your players the outlet with which to spend their gold. The last problem with gold in your campaign is that tracking it is not fun. In a game of resource management like 5e D&D, gold is just one more thing that the players have to track. And compared to resources like magic spells, hit points, torches, things like that, gold is just significantly less fun. Nobody likes accounting, really. I mean, some people might, but it can take some time at the table too, like deciding how to split 5 diamonds amongst 4 players and who should cover the room at the inn that night and who needs to do fantasy Venmo. And before long, players have gaping eraser gaps in their character sheet from writing off where their goal used to be. So what can we do about it? How can we reduce the burden of resource tracking of gold? One idea is to eliminate coins entirely and return to a bartering economy. If the party wants to rent a horse, they have to give the owner of the horse something that they want. If the party wants to have a bed for the night, maybe they have to run an errand for somebody. This has the added bonus of turning tracking coins into a quest hook. However, this works best in games that focus on emergent storytelling and may not work as well with games that have a highly specific story that needs to be told. Instead, those groups might want to try an abstract coinage system. Some games, like Blades in the Dark for example, abstract coins to a more wieldy concept. Instead of tracking individual pieces of money, you could track wealth. Since wealth is abstracted, we don't need to worry about tracking small purchases like room for a night or a beer. Those can be hand-waved, and instead we can focus on tracking larger purchases like a bribe for a guard or the deed to a castle. And you as the DM can be empowered to decide how much this reduces the player character's wealth. Here's an adaptation of how Blades in the Dark might do it. And one advantage of this system is that it can be used in conjunction with our real-world price-setting model, like I described previously. Additionally, because we're abstracting wealth, we also don't have to worry about small influxes of cash, like pickpocketing a guard or looting a corpse or selling those little art objects to the merchant. Instead, you'll need to worry about, you guessed it, large influxes of wealth, like a dragon's hoard, the storm giant's pearl, or something like that. These are also much easier for players to divide up. Use this system in your game if you want a more lightweight way of tracking gold. Gold is now an empty resource in Dungeons & Dragons because there isn't much to spend it on, it's difficult to assign values to goods and services, and because it's just another thing to track. Hopefully after watching this video, you've picked up on some tips and tricks to help you mitigate these issues. Until next time, roll those dice like they owe you gold. Thank you.